dumbbells and a barbell outside. And today I took a rest day, and it was the easiest rest day I've ever taken. Go outside.
Well, that was the worst CrossFit WOD I've ever done. So,
Oh, that's fun.
yay.
Today was that bad?
The hardest.
It was the hardest. Did you have a lot of people on this afternoon, Chad?
About 8 or 9. Probably about 8, something like that.
We only had 3
Oh,
at 10.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
yeah, it's weather and Thursday. And what was the workout, Susan? I didn't even look.
Wait, is Thursday a thing? I need to know. Am I allowed to skip Thursday?
Thursday is the slowest day by far.
The standard, it's a typical rest day in CrossFit, but it doesn't have to be your rest day. Don't worry.
See, because I suck at CrossFit, I didn't even know to take Thursday off. It was.
You're getting more fit than everyone else, so
It's what
you're getting more fit.
I'm bummed I missed this one last week, but it sounds like it was recorded, so we'll check it out.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yep, it's recorded, and I started the recording on this one because the recording on the first one, there was 25 to 30 people watched it later on. So, and I know there was 1 or 2 that wanted to join but couldn't today. So
All right.
I'll record this one.
Jen, is Rob coming?
Not tonight.
What?
Working. He's not able to tonight.
Okay. I remember he was interested in like the fat conversation, so I didn't know if he was gonna be able to join, but have him watch it, and then same thing, if he has any like other questions, just let me know.
Okay.
All right.
We
I
did
will
miss
kick it off.
significantly this last week, so
Sorry.
we did decrease our fat significantly this last week, so it'll be interesting to see what you say.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so I think everyone was on. Susan, you weren't on. If you have time, definitely watch the one from last week. Basically, you just asked me, how do you eat all that? So the challenge last week was to try to consume about your body weight in protein every day. You can watch it, but basically for me as like a nutrition coach, I think protein is the #1 thing that everyone should be eating, especially when they're trying to lose weight, gain weight. It's like basically the most crucial macronutrient to make sure you're hitting for like your health and everything. So that was that week's challenge. You definitely could just take that challenge on, be a week behind, or try to think about the next one I'm going to talk about as well. But if you have any questions after you watch it, you can email the nutrition email that we'll post again, so you can let me know, and I can kind of walk you through it if you need.
I saw it earlier this week too. I meant to post it, and I don't think that I did. But it was an article on a couple of studies that have come out recently showing that eating adequate protein actually boosts your immune system as well. So another good thing to be doing.
Yeah.
All this pandemic stuff going on.
Yep, that's fair. It's a really good point. And it keeps you full so you're not opening the snack closet every 4 seconds. All right, so the challenge we're going to talk about for this week is basically there's 3 macronutrients that everyone always talks about: protein, fat, and carbs. We're going to talk about fat today. So we've all seen it, like we all do CrossFit. We've all seen, the eat nuts and seeds and little sugar. And then there's this little part below it that says, eat enough to support exercise, but not to increase body fat levels, basically. And a lot of us don't realize it, that we overeat our fat. Now, fat is super good, right? Avocados, nuts, oils, all those things, they are really good fats, and they are super important for our body and development. In fact, like our brain function is the #1 thing that we actually do need fats. So I would never say, I am not a fan of like a very low fat diet. I never have been. But like if people that, and like certain diets like paleo and keto and things like that, they really emphasize a high fat diet. On the contrary, so low fat can impede like function and development and a lot of hormones. Really high fat diet, can also, you guys probably know this, but can raise your cholesterol, cause heart problems, and cause weight gain. So being CrossFitters, we want to try to find that level of, enough fat to support our exercise and our goals. But also as CrossFitters, a lot of us we want a pretty good physique. We want to be happy with what we see in the mirror. We want to be lean so that we can do CrossFit better. So that's where it kind of comes about, finding that nice balance of fat. So what this challenge is, I first want to frame it as, has anyone on the call ever done Whole30? I think we talked about this last week, but so Whole30, right? It's a really good awareness play. We learn to eat whole foods. We have to eliminate grains, but we learn what it's like to just eat unprocessed food, and fairly good quantities. You're staying full with good fats, good carbs, vegetables, that type of thing. Now, Whole30, again, as I said, I think it's just awareness, but is it sustainable? Probably not. Do you want to go back to eating oatmeal and pasta and having milk or yogurt? Absolutely. But for 30 days on Whole30, we learn what it's like to put good food into our body. And I think that's why it's, a beneficial program for some people. So that's how I want to approach that challenge. I don't think it's a sustainable challenge, but it's going to be 7 days. So for 7 days only, not even 30 days, the challenge is to only eat one fat source at every meal. And what this does is that it teaches us awareness of how much fat we're actually taking in. Because I will tell you right now, having one fat source at every meal, as long as you're eating like 3-4 meals, it is probably enough fat to support your body and to support doing CrossFit and to support exercise. So let's backtrack for a second. So as I said, is it not sustainable? Would I ever say, that on next Sunday you shouldn't have eggs and avocado? Absolutely not. That is, those are two very healthy foods and foods you can and should always eat together. But for this challenge, that would not work because eggs are a fat source and avocado is a fat source. So the goal is that every meal we're having one fat source. Now, the thing I do want to be cognizant of, because you're like, how can I do that when other foods have some fat? We don't need to worry about if you're having chicken breast or chicken thighs, you don't need to worry about the fat that's going to come from that. What we are worried about are those main fat sources, like your nuts, your oils, your peanut butter, your peanut butters, avocado, things like that. Avocado is kind of an interesting one because avocado is actually a fruit. So it kind of hits all the bases. But when you think of fat sources, butter, peanuts, that type of thing. Same thing as I did last week. I uploaded an infographic that had carbs or protein we want to eat the most of, some of, and then less of. I have the same exact stuff for fats. So I'll upload some graphics that show you what are the most heart healthy fats we can eat. Those are the ones I want you to try to focus on this week. And then start going down the line, obviously seeing something I know it's kind of a protein, but a bacon is not necessarily the type of fat that we really want to eat too much of just because it's saturated and processed. Basically, when we talk about anything, the more unprocessed, the better. So, your extra virgin olive oil, your nuts, your nut butters that don't have added sugar and stuff like that are great sources of fat. Even butter is, I eat a fair amount of butter as a fat source. So even something like that isn't terrible. But what this challenge does is that it really just teaches you oh my gosh, if my breakfast is an egg sandwich with bacon and sausage and cheese, that's 4 fat sources in one meal. And chances are, unfortunately, that one meal is probably pretty close to the amount of fat you need to eat all day to actually support what your body needs to take in for fat. So I'm going to pause right there. I love that you're just look at him, he does all this.
Well, not very often, but that sounds good. Right?
And that's the thing, right? We all do. We all have meals where, so here's the other part of this challenge. It's going to teach some balance, right? So say you're going through this week and at breakfast, you're forget her. I want to have eggs and bacon, right? Maybe at lunch, we try to maybe you have chicken, rice, and vegetables and we don't put in a fat source. So it really is now where we're just trying to learn a little bit of balance and how we balance our food intake throughout the day in order to kind of make sure that our macronutrients, our protein, our carbs, and our fat are just very balanced in our diet. It's been interesting. I've been talking to Eli a bunch on Facebook, and he does keto. So he focuses on very low carb and very high fat. So for anybody who is going to watch this, if you do keto and it works for you, then this might not be the challenge for you. Because, if you are eating in a lifestyle that works for you, then, I don't know if I want to necessarily have you limit your fat source and go away from something, especially keto, that you've worked pretty hard to achieve. But, no matter what your diet is, paleo, keto, intermittent fasting, vegan, vegetarian, there's without a doubt, you have to intake the calories your body needs every single day in order to hit goals, whether that's be strong in the gym, whether that's, look in the mirror and be happy with what you see, have energy, be healthy. We don't want anyone under eating or overeating for that matter, kind of no matter what the case and no matter what the diet is. Who thinks this is going to be like super hard? This is definitely the hardest, I think, probably the hardest challenge for most people. Because protein, it's like, oh, cool, I can eat more. When we're going to talk about carbs, it's like, okay, I get to eat healthy carbs. And like, I might have to put more cognizant of eating more vegetables or having more fruit. But for this is like, it's very easy to overeat fat. Especially it gets challenging when like going out to restaurants and things like that, because food is always cooked in oil. Meats are usually fattier in restaurants. Luckily for us, in the next 7 days, no one's really going out to restaurants. So if you get takeout, do your best. You know what I mean? Like that's where the challenge comes into play. Like a really good example is of if you were going to get like Chinese food tomorrow night, even, Friday night, like it's, rice, vegetables, and the meat. And you count, if you get chicken, rice, and vegetables, like you just basically count the vegetables and the chicken that are going to be cooked in oil as your fat source, and try not to have a fried spring roll. That's what I like. That's what I mean by balance, right? So like, sure, Chinese food is pretty fatty, but like, let's just make that our fat source. Maybe we have like a side salad on the side. So like that would work. That would stick with the challenge. No one needs to be perfect. But it's really just about like being more cognizant of the amount of fat that we're going to take in for 7 days, which hopefully will then lead to kind of, longer progress and goals. What do we think?
So
I'll tell you, it was hard. It was hard to remove. Well, I used to eat all last week. I did not bacon and eggs every morning, and then I was like, oh, you can't have both of those together. So I haven't had bacon in a week, and I'm like, this is really weird. Like I make every morning sweet potatoes, eggs, and bacon. It's my breakfast every morning. Well, it's lunch because of fasting, but yeah, it was hard. It was the hardest one, I think. Every other meal wasn't that hard. It was breakfast that was the hardest for me.
Yeah, and Jen got a little bit of a sneak peek because we talked about it after the protein nutrition call. So I think they were interested in trying that challenge. So it's interesting you say that. So like paleo, right? Super, super popular with CrossFitters. They say eat all the bacon, sweet potatoes, and eggs that you want. Does paleo work for some people? Sure. Again, because sometimes you're not taking in like all the processed sugar that can help you gain, that can put weight on and things like that. But a paleo diet can be a really high in fat diet. And no matter what it is, fat has more calories per gram than protein and carbs. So if you're taking in a tablespoon of oil, that's 180 calories. And again, the more calories you eat, unfortunately, the more you can gain weight and, keep weight on parts of your body that we don't want to. The other thing with fat is, I don't know if you guys remember last week, I talked about protein and somebody asked, like, can I eat too much? When we take in protein, it's recycled, right? So it never really gets stored in our body. So like, that's why we can keep having protein and we're really never going to have too much. Fat loves to stay in our body. So the more fat we eat, it loves to hang on to our cells and store in the places that we don't want it to store, like our stomach, like our legs. So that's like a really kind of non-scientific way of looking at it, is that protein is it's gonna get used. Fat, it's gonna stay.
So do you ever find a problem with your egg sticking to your pan because you don't have butter in there?
Yeah, I use spray. I use spray. Non-stick pan and spray.
Or you
I use the bacon
white,
or-
right? If you do the egg white, then you get yourself a little bit of, or you cook your bacon in the pan first and then cook your egg
Yes.
whites after.
It always works.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
I've never eaten egg whites before, so like I always just eat regular eggs, just 2 regular eggs, which maybe is something just because of do you take out the yolk that's the more fats? Is that why you do more of just the egg whites?
Yep. So basically that's what's interesting, right? So if you say you're having 2 eggs, and again, I know like, unfortunately, like the macro of every food there is, but an egg has 5 grams of fat and 6 grams of protein. So if you have 2 eggs, that's 10 grams of fat and 12 grams of protein. If you have 1 egg and 3 whites, basically an egg white has no fat and 3 grams of protein. So yes, that's what I do. So like my morning is usually 1 egg because I love whole eggs. Like most of the time I don't want to give them up. So I have 1 egg and 3 egg whites, and that way I get limited amount of fat, but I add more protein in. And that's kind of an easy change. I think that's sometimes like one of the easier changes for people is if they can still have that 1 egg. So it's not like you're just staring at boring old egg whites, but you get to mix it in with some egg whites. So you get the bonus of added protein without that added fat.
So do you take the yolk out yourself, or do you buy a carton?
So it's really funny. COVID-19 has helped because Joe has always been like, we're buying whole eggs because those cartons are more expensive. So Joe and I go through, oh my God, it's disgusting. We eat like 12 eggs a day between the two of us. Because like I have 4 and he has between 6 and 8, and we just separate them out ourselves. However, because we couldn't get eggs in COVID-19, we started buying the cartons. And now he's like, oh, it's easy.
But does it taste as good? I feel like the stuff out of the carton does not taste the same.
Right. So personally, eggs are, I think, eggs are better. And to be honest, it is cheaper if you buy eggs than if you buy the carton. So the more eggs you consume, buying eggs is actually cheaper than buying the carton.
Okay, so then do you buy, I'm sorry, I'm going down this whole egg path, but do you buy brown eggs or do you buy?
Nope. I buy when you go to King Soopers and Safeway and they have those like 36 pack of giant white eggs, I buy those.
Because I buy the $7 12 pack of eggs.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'd want to take out the yolk out of that.
Well, so like the yolk is where a lot of that stuff is stored anyway, like in the fat, right? Just like in people and in animals, the fat is where some of those, like, if you're not buying organic or things like that, then that's where some of those chemicals and stuff would be stored. So if you are doing the whites, then it's a little easier to get the cheaper eggs.
So I could buy the brown for the whole one and buy the white for the other one.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, honestly, like think about your breakfast. Like, here's the thing. If you love your two eggs, right? Then you keep that, right? But like maybe you think of other ways that you can incorporate protein, whether that's like a super lean chicken sausage, whether that's slices of like turkey deli meat, whether that's even eating like, diced up grilled chicken with those 2 eggs in your scramble. Like there's other ways to get protein that isn't egg whites. So it's not like you have to go out and buy, and totally change your routine, but like, we just think about ways that we could get more protein into our meals with limited amount of fat.
And they've got a lot of good, like if you've done some of those paleo pancakes, right? There are a lot of egg whites. Or I used to mix up my own little I'd put blueberries and oats and spinach and egg whites, and like cinnamon and stuff on top. Like it was the weirdest thing, but it was like a little pancake. Yeah. And that was an easy way to eat my egg whites. It felt more like eating a pancake, but it got a lot of protein and didn't taste like I was trying to make it eggs.
I put egg whites in my oatmeal, and it's my favorite thing in the whole world. And I got Joe doing it. It's delicious. It's like sweet and salty. I don't know if anybody would ever want to try that, but it's like my favorite thing ever.
How do you do it? You mean you cook oatmeal and you crack an egg into it?
No, I cook oatmeal and I cook egg whites and then I combine them. Yeah. So everything's all cooked beforehand.
What else do you put on there? Anything?
So when I have oatmeal, it's usually oatmeal, egg whites, peanut butter, and berries.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just use plain old oats? I don't usually eat oatmeal, so.
Yeah, I use old-fashioned oats, put them in the microwave for 2.5 minutes. That's like my, oats are oatmeal, quick oats, old-fashioned oats. It's kind of all the same. Quick oats are smaller, obviously, if you've ever had them, and they get digested a little bit faster. So the whole oats is usually what I recommend when people eat oatmeal, just because they get digested slower and keep you fuller.
You had Coach's oats?
Yes, I think they sell them in the big bag at Costco.
Costco, yeah.
What are they?
Coach's oats, they're more of like not quite a steel cut oat, but they're closer to a cut than they are to a regular oat. Wouldn't you say, Susan?
They're more like whole. They're really good.
Yeah.
Very fibery.
And I'm late, sorry, but Trader Joe's actually has gluten-free, really good quality ones too.
Rolled oats.
I can't wait to we'll talk about all the carbs and oats next week. But yeah, I was saying how I put egg whites in my oatmeal, Nicole, and it sparked the oat combo.
Oh, like cooked or uncooked?
No, yeah, I cooked the oatmeal and then I cooked the egg whites and then I combined them. It's like sweet and salty.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, Joel and Nicole, no problems. Basically, here's the challenge, and I'm just going to sum it up for you real quickly, and you can.
Joel frozen in that position. There you go.
My internet's not good here at the hotel.
No, it doesn't matter. Keep doing it. It's funny. The challenge was to eat one fat source at every meal for the next 7 days.
But just one.
Just one. Oh.
So you never eat avocado and eggs?
Wait, just one only?
Just
What's
one.
that?
Yeah.
Well, how are we supposed to get our protein
oh.
then?
I mean, like
Ah.
8 fat sources.
There you go.
Easy.
So this
What
is
if I eat
All right.
like every hour? Then I can do that, right?
so here's the crux of it, right? So we're not worried about like if you're gonna eat chicken breast or tuna or something like that, or even like a lean steak, like a flank steak or something. You don't have to worry about the fat in that. I'm talking about like your main fat sources, like your nuts, your oils, your butter, your avocado, your things like that.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
challenge. So it's not like we need to like have a completely fat-free meal minus 1 egg or a completely fat-free meal minus 1 tablespoon of butter. It's really just like the higher, really dense fat sources. My example I gave is if you're going to have a breakfast sandwich that has, eggs, cheese, bacon, and sausage, that's 4. So the goal for this week, and it's only 7 days. And I said, like, this is not something I would ever say is sustainable, right? It's not something we ever want to do. But the point of it is to be aware of how much fat intake we all do. So that's why just for 7 days, the goal is to have 1 fat source at each meal.
Did you talk about like what is considered high versus low? Like, is there a gram number?
So not yet. I didn't talk about numbers specifically, but so I did remember last week for the protein, I put out that like green, yellow, and red list. I'm going to do the same thing for fats.
Oh.
So we'll have an example of good fat, bad fat, and then like middle of the road fat. If you guys also remember last week, I talked about your protein in like the size of your palm. What's interesting is that a serving of fat is the size of your thumb. Small, right? Super small. That's because of how dense fat is. So whereas it's kind of think about like this, whereas I could maybe eat a palm full of grilled chicken for 120 calories, I can have a tablespoon of olive oil for 120 calories. So
Right.
the serving sizes are so different. Same thing though, I have an infographic that'll kind of just, again, show you. Basically, if you scooped out peanut butter and it was the size of your thumb, that's a tablespoon. That's a serving. A pat of butter, that's a serving. That's where it's, it gets kind of interesting of so easy to overeat fat because some of us take what they think is a tablespoon of peanut butter and it's actually like 4.
Right.
Tablespoons of peanut butter it's delicious, but it's a lot of fat.
Okay. Cool.
What else? Any other questions? What do you guys think? What do you like? I know like for takeout and stuff like that, and like it's hard to control fat in other, when other people are preparing our meals. But, as I said before, we're in a unique situation. So like, why not take advantage of it, prepare our own meals, and just kind of see if it's doable, see how you feel. See how you feel working out. I think I mentioned this. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Did anybody get the protein goal? Besides Ashley?
Chad did,
I did too. I made it this week,
and Jen.
A
surprisingly.
couple days.
You did it. How did you get there, Chad? Because I know you don't weigh 125 pounds.
I was shooting for 180 every day, and I don't weigh 180 either. I had to have big protein shakes. If I didn't have the protein shake, I wouldn't have made it. There's no way.
Yeah, I think that was my struggle as I was trying to get it from from food, and it was impossible. And I eat eggs every morning for breakfast. It's not like I'm a cereal eater, and I'm very paleo, so I was not close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to like just see what you eat in a day. I would love to see it just because, you know, for me, it's, I guess, again, I do this so often that like, it's pretty easy for me, but again, like, and I realize like, you know, I know I do this and I love this stuff. But I told Chad I eat like 150 grams of protein a day, and man, I could eat 50 more. So like, it's really, I think the easiest way to talk about it is just like increase what you're eating at each meal. And like, you get there.
I think it's stuff you find like when you've been counting for a long time, then
Yeah.
you find the hacks, right? Like Greek yogurt,
Right.
not that Greek yogurt, something like that. Like that'll get you a lot of
Yeah.
protein really fast.
Yep.
So like the chicken breast, so you can throw some extra chicken breast in there. That's another like lean source, but lots of protein grams in it.
I think what I found challenging was like you're saying, like I eat very paleo, so I kind of like I'm kind of boring. Like I eat the same thing
Yeah.
for breakfast and lunch pretty much every day
Yeah.
because I know it fits, it works. Dinner obviously rotates through,
Yeah.
but I was like eating protein in between meals instead of like fruit and vegetables. So I was like,
Yeah.
how am I gonna
I don't
keep
hate
getting
that.
my huh?
I don't hate that.
I know, but then I was like, I need to get my fruit and veggies in too.
Yeah.
But I was like, I was getting full, which I know is the goal, but I don't really have an issue with snacking, I don't feel like, but maybe I could just message you, Ashley, like
Yeah.
offline, kind of like what I typically eat. And maybe you
Yeah.
have some good hacks where I could add in more stuff.
Yeah.
I found it really easy. What I did is I did an Instapot of like shredded chicken, and I found it really easy just because, and I grilled a bunch of chicken breasts. So I put them in the refrigerator, then I would weigh them, and I would just add whatever I needed for each meal. I mean, breakfast is a lot smaller in protein for me, which I think I'll probably move towards like maybe doing some egg whites or doing something, mixing something else in with my breakfast besides my 2 eggs. But I found that really easy because it was already prepped and ready to go. So if I had a salad, I just threw chicken on top of my salad, which I will tell you, I never really do. I usually just eat a salad with nothing on it, no protein. So I found that really helping me, just having all of it in there, really easy access for it. And while you're home, I mean, it's something easy to do. Not saying that can necessarily last as we get back into the real world, but
Yeah.
Well, so we do that already. We buy extra rotisserie chickens at Costco, and Tariq shreds them all Sunday night. So that is what we put in our salad every day. Like I was already doing that.
Mhm.
I just weigh a lot, and I don't have a goal to lose weight. Like I was like gaining muscle, and I was getting stronger at the gym, and I was like, I'm not even like, I think the highest I got was like 130.
Yeah.
I weigh a lot more than 130.
What, with like eating paleo, as you've mentioned, what do you think about the challenge for this week? Because, you know, I've done paleo before and I know it can range on the higher fat. So like it could be hard to get calories in with taking down your fat intake.
I think I'll notice it at breakfast because we do like the egg muffin cups, and we always add an additional protein to the eggs.
Okay.
Like we rotate through like, you know, chicken, sausage, turkey, bacon. We kind of switch it up, and then we always put veggies too.
Yeah.
But we always add an extra protein in those. So I'm curious. I think that'll be weird.
Yeah, well, don't forget, like the protein is fine. So like if you're gonna have eggs with vegetables and like chicken sausage, like that's good. That's the sort, your eggs are like your fat source there, and that's fine. Like you don't need to worry about like the fat in the chicken sausage. Like we're not trying to be like crazy, like it's chicken sausage, right? So it's not like, it is a little lower fat. We're not trying to be like crazy about that something needs to have fat and something needs to be completely fat free. I'm just talking about those like pretty heavy fat sources. Like, you know, if you were gonna have bacon and eggs and chicken sausage and cheese, like again, you're paleo, so you're not probably having enough cheese, but that type of thing.
Well, the day I actually hit my highest, it was Easter, and we had like eggs, paleo pancakes, bacon, sausage,
Yeah.
potatoes.
Well, that's the thing.
I did eat like, I was like giant peanut butter scoops because I was like, I need more protein with like a banana.
So, yeah, that's where this is kind of like the really cool thing about piecemealing these challenges, right?
Yeah.
So we learn how to eat our protein, and that's great. But, you know, I do put that emphasis on lean protein because, Yeah, it's pretty easy to eat to meet your protein if you're gonna have a ribeye and like 8 scoops of peanut butter. But to just like eat your day's worth of fat, yeah.
Right.
So that's like at the end of like these challenges, we try to like put them all together and talk about like what a really good plate looks like. So like no matter what day it is, what meal it is, you have these 4 components on your plate. If you go out to a restaurant and you try to think about having these 4 components on your plate, you're making a healthy choice.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you kind of talked about calories, and I'll tell you that I did not get very many calories by looking at protein. I know it probably will all come together when you add all 3 of them in. And I do paleo too, I mean, I don't do a lot of carbs, which I know we'll talk about next week.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I was like at 1,400, 1,500 calories, and I don't know if that's
Too low.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But like, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to incorporate more fat because I was trying to lower the fat. But I mean, I don't know. I don't want to eat more. I mean, I guess I could eat more protein, but I really don't want to.
The way like we think about it too, and I know Rob was like a little different about this, but like I think I talked about this last week, or maybe it was just with you and Rob. But if you think about like intake for most people, a really good way to split our calories and how most people, especially CrossFitters, function really well is 30% protein, 30% carbs, 40% fat. So whatever my calorie intake is, the majority of that intake comes from carbs. And I know like that's very hard for some people to put their mind around because we're kind of taught to hear that like carbs are bad and carbs make us fat. Now I'm not saying go out and eat like 40 Easter peeps. I do talk about healthy carbs, like I eat sweet potatoes 2 meals a day, but I also eat a lot of rice and bread and pasta, because carbs are the thing that like I've realized when I keep my fat intake lower and my carb intake higher, and my protein in a good place, that's when I that's when I lean out. Again, it's because I'm lifting weights. I'm using that like the carbs for energy and muscle. They're not just sitting there, gaining weight. Like we all work out a lot. Carbs are really beneficial for all of us. So, I mean, Jen, like if you were open to it, I would say that, you should get more of your calories from carbohydrates.
Okay.
But I know it's a hard mental change.
Yeah.
But like that's, also why we have these conversations and these challenges to talk about it.
What was the 40%?
Carbs.
Which was 40%?
Everyone froze for a second.
Which was 40%?
Is it me?
Yes.
Hang on one second.
You Ashley.
Yeah, which one?
Hold on. Sorry.
Okay, you're good. We can see you moving around.
Yeah.
We can hear
Was
you.
it 30% protein, 30%
Fat and 40%
fat,
carb.
40% carbs?
Is that better?
Yep, you're good. We see
Yeah, I had to change internets. I was told my internet was unstable.
How many internets do you have?
Just 2.
Just 2? Oh.
Just 2. Yeah. We
you.
go back and forth.
Joe
between-
work from home, so they gotta.
Yeah. We have no pants is the best pants 1 and no pants is the best pants 2.
Of course.
All right.
Those are our internets.
Ashley,
Yeah, so that's what sorry, Chad. Yeah, I did say like the zone diet, like whenever when I do macros for people, whenever I start anyone anywhere, it's usually 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat, because that's how athletes perform the best. And that's how athletes can see muscle gain and fat loss is on that calorie ratio or that macronutrient ratio. Now that changes dependent person to person. Absolutely. Different body types will probably do better with different percentages, but it's kind of always a fail-safe, okay place to start to see kind of like how your body reacts to that. I'll tell you right now, like the more muscle you have, the more carbohydrates you should be eating. So like if you have somebody who's super tall and skinny and lean and like just looks like pretty ripped, but they don't do that much, like they have a really high carb tolerance, so they can probably eat more carbs than you would ever imagine. So it's just kind of the more muscle we have, the more we need to support that.
Did you have a question, Joel?
Yeah. So I missed last week, so this is more related to, I guess, the protein stuff.
Mhm.
So I travel a lot for work, right? And I am, and then also coupled with that, confined to a small space without a cooking apparatus for extended periods of time. So on days when I'm hitting my protein goals, I'm hanging out a lot in the yellow and the red of the proteins. So like a day like the things that set me up are I'll eat a whole bag of King Soopers jerky, which is about 40 grams of protein, a Premier Protein shake, which is 30 grams, and then like we do like a smoothie with protein in it.
Yep.
So like if I'm doing those three, like with a good dinner, then I'm getting my stuff. But like the majority of my protein's coming from like the powders and the shakes and things like that. Is there and we tried. I mean, so like for instance, like I'm on a 4-day trip right now. So like on day one, like I'm carrying, like literally physically carrying everything that I'm going to eat for probably 10 or 11 meals with me. Like, and so any thoughts on that? Like any hacks, I guess, to maybe get into some more green, like.
Yeah. So I have a couple things. The first thing I would say is, you travel a lot for a job and you're in a situation that a lot of people aren't in. So you getting in your protein with beef jerky, with protein shakes, with things like that is awesome. And I would say you doing that is better than not doing it. So first of all, like very commendable and even like attempting it and trying it. What I used to do and still do on business trips, I mean, if it's possible, and again, I don't know, but like trying to potentially hit the grocery store like once, if you can, or like in the lobby, what Nicole would do, like I would get a rotisserie chicken, see if I could get a room with a fridge and stick it in my fridge. I would also buy like a pound of turkey deli meat and try to keep that in the fridge over the course of the week. But like your proteins when you're traveling, and if you don't have access to that, it is going to come from like your powders and your protein bars, and potentially like airport. I used to get like airport turkey sandwiches and take out the turkey, by two, and beef up one turkey sandwich with the extra turkey from the other sandwich. Is it the most cost efficient thing? No. But sometimes it's kind of what it is. So like the little hacks like that, that like if you are able to hit a quick grocery store, convenience store, you can buy those things. Airports always have hard-boiled eggs. Airports always have turkey sandwiches. Usually even like a Chick-fil-A has grilled chicken that you could get at the airport and bring it with you back to your hotel if there's like a mini fridge. So I think that's kind of where I would go. Like when I traveled for work, I would literally buy a box or a bag of spinach, turkey, a chicken, and like a loaf of bread. And like that's where I and some apples. And like that's how I like would make some of my meals like when I travel for work. Again, I know like, it's sometimes hard to do that. You get most of that stuff at the airport as well. Take it with you to the hotel. But no matter what, like, you consuming some of your protein from shakes and stuff when you're on the road is absolutely better than nothing.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Joel, where do you fit your clothes?
If you have to carry.
So like everything hooks together, right? So like I've got I legit carry two lunch bags, and then the one lunch bag actually doubles as a weight for our home workouts. And then so I just like everything kind of hooks together, and like that's So well,
You like get a workout just traveling the airport, so it's.
So the Beacon course in Denver from one end to the other is 0.67 miles, and so if you walk one end to if you go down and back, it's like 1.25 miles.
Wow.
So if ever you're at the airport and want to get your steps in, there's a lot of walking opportunity, and the
Good to
the
know.
airport's wide open right now, so.
Yeah.
You can go there and get your steps in.
A lot of little kids interfering with the.
Running around.
Yeah, there's nobody. There's nobody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Cool. Any other questions? Again, like that, I don't think, Liz, no one emailed, right, this week?
No.
Yeah. So if there are any questions, even for everyone who's going to watch this recording, like please feel free to email me and Liz, and we can answer any questions. This can be a tough one. So if you kind of need ideas how to get protein in with less fat, that's something that we can definitely chat about. And tonight I'll upload everything I talked about with those graphics, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about with the best fats that we can be eating for our body, down to those very processed ones that we're going to try to stay away from.
Yep, you can email nutrition@crossfitandcarol.com. So we got an email set up. Just nutrition@crossfitandcarol.com works.
Awesome.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Ashley. Appreciate it.